I think she's
I
stuck.
can't see.
We're live.
Okay. Hello, welcome to the Pagan Mom's Hangout. This is going to be, ideally, a once-a-month experience for everyone to come join me, Astro Waters, or Michelle, Avalon, and there were a few other that were lined up, but they had other things that we needed to do, so they'll come on at a later date. And we also have Aaron here, who is one of Avalon's friends and another YouTuber, I believe, correct?
Sorry.
It's okay.
Shaking a box of blocks.
And we'll disclaimer this, there are some technical issues going on, so if Avalon drops off, she'll be back.
Yes.
So what this hangout is going to be about is, there's so many pagans in the YouTube community that I was noticing there's so many mothers, and I felt that, funny enough, this topic isn't covered enough in the community. A lot of times, like with Avalon, I know you've commented a couple times on your videos about your children and how I believe your daughter will pick a card on occasion for you.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
And
She's
then,
very active that way.
which is awesome. And then I've had Adrian, my son, do that at times, and you just don't often hear YouTube pagans talk about how they are pagan mothers, their pagan beliefs and with their family, and how they are raising their children at different stages in their life with their beliefs. So we will get started in introducing ourselves individually and what makes us a pagan mother. Obviously, we are either pregnant or have children. But I'll go first since I'm talking already. I'm Tara, Lippy Witch. You can find me on Lippy Witch on YouTube. And I have one son. He is 9 years old. And he's also autistic, but he is the love of my life. You can sometimes find him on videos of mine. And we do plan on having more children in the future. All right, whomever wants to go next can go ahead. Michelle?
Hold on. I'm having a technical. All right. My name is Michelle. My YouTube channel is Astral Waters, which we're broadcasting on. I'm 37 years old. I have a 16-year-old daughter. So I became a mom very young. And while I'm pagan, my daughter was actually raised in Christian school. So that, over the last 6 or 7 years, has kind of been, somewhat of an issue. Because back when I first had her and I was young, I didn't really know where I was going spiritually, so I just thought, okay, her dad went to Christian school, I guess I'll send her there too. So that's been one of our biggest challenges now that she's getting older and asking questions and wanting to learn more, and so yeah, that's fun.
Well, let me go back up for a second because you kind of went on a little bit. I totally forgot to express a little bit more about the pagan stuff. My husband's atheist. I'm obviously pagan, and being my son is autistic, it makes it a little bit unique and potentially difficult to introduce any spiritual aspects with the child who's autistic, because the way they conceptualize life is much different than the average individual. But yes. Okay. Erin, you want to go next?
Yep. Okay, so I'm Erin. My YouTube channel is A Wild Light, and that's my blog as well, awildlight.com. And I have two daughters, a 4-year-old, and this one who's 1. And I am a pagan mother. In terms of how that, I guess, manifests in my life, I suppose it's an everyday thing. It's the way that, I answer their questions. It's the way that they see me, that we keep an altar, and just the way that we notice or try to live through the way the seasons change and all that kind of thing. So, yeah.
Right now, Avalon, your turn.
Hi, beautiful fellas. I'm Avalon. Um, I'm obviously a pagan mom because I'm part of this hangout. I have 3 children. I have a 5-year-old, a 2.5-year-old, and this one here will be 1 March. I am a hereditary pagan witch, and so my children are naturally born in a pagan household. Now, having said that, my husband himself does not identify openly as pagan, but he is incredibly open-minded and incredibly supportive, and he participates in all of my, most of my pagan bits and pieces. While he doesn't participate directly, he's there to support. He brings the kids. He's present in the environment. He asks thoughtful questions and he shares thoughtful ideas. And that's about the extent of it. He's always there and he's very supportive, but he himself would not consider to be an openly pagan practitioner of witchcraft. I'm talking to my hangout. Sorry. He just walked in and he's like, who are you talking to?
Nice. That would be a little confusing. Okay. So, for anybody watching, I'm not sure if anyone's watching yet or not. We do have a Q&A up, so if you have any random questions to ask us, feel free to let us know. We're ideally going to go for an hour. I don't know what time we started. Michelle, do you remember when we started?
It was about 10 minutes ago. Not even.
I mean, like, the time you goof.
No, I don't know. I don't remember. 8, what was it, 45 at my time?
Okay, so
whatever that is.
9:45. All right, we'll go until 9:45 then. All right, so I guess, start, like, when did each one of us start our personal pagan path, and then how did we introduce that to our children, if we have introduced that to our children? So, again, I'll go first. For me, I started around my mid-20s to be actively pursuing the path of paganism. It was pretty much after I had my son. I think sometimes people, when they're kind of not in a path already, they kind of find new spiritual growth after having a child, because that is a very life-changing experience. And I would say, in trying to introduce him to paganism and stuff, it's very difficult, again, with the autism aspect. But I've tried to incorporate things like tarot. I would have him take the deck, and he would go through and pick out a card that resonated with him. And then I'd read it and try to explain it to him so he would understand. It'd be always very interesting, the cards he would pick, because I remember, what was it? I think it was the Osho Zen deck that he was looking through, and he picked up the card Isolation. I was like, that's very interesting, because a lot of, if you know any autistic people who are able to verbalize their feelings well enough, they often do say that they feel isolated because of the way they process the information. And people kind of feeling either uncomfortable or unsure of how to interact with them. So I was like, oh. But it's little things like that I try to incorporate. I would ideally like to have, if not a daily thing, a weekly or monthly thing, either him helping creating an altar or doing a project. But again, we're still in that kind of transition stage where I'm unsure how to incorporate my beliefs with how he learns. It's a kind of interesting area to deal with. Okay. Michelle?
I've caught off guard. I've never been. I was brought up atheist. My dad, while he was from a Pentecostal background, he raised me pretty much atheist. My mom was always kind of, I don't know, whatever. So that's pretty much all I knew until I got older and, you know, started trying to figure things out for myself and talking to people and trying to figure out what do I really believe, you know? And I didn't really figure it out until probably about, I'm guessing now 6 or 7 years ago, maybe. And it's kind of evolved over that time period as well. You know, you learn and you grow and you know as you go. And so while my daughter was raised in a Christian environment and in Christian school, I never really agreed with that fully. You know, I liked the moral values she was learning and things like that, but I didn't really want to try and impose my beliefs on her until she was a little older, until she could really understand, you know, what I was saying, because anything I said that was going against what she was saying, you know, is not right. So now that she's older, she's, you know, been asking questions, and, you know, her mind has been opened up, like I say, and now that she's 16 years old, you know, in 2 years she's going to be an adult, so she's been questioning a lot, too, of what she's been taught. And, you know, I've explained to her what I believe and how I believe, so she thinks I'm weird, and she thinks, you know, I'm a Fruit Loop, but,
So teenagers are supposed to think of their parents.
yeah, she totally thinks I'm weirdo, but that's fine. My husband does, too, so, right? Just half a weirdo. Sorry. Anyways, but, you know, she's open to learning new things, and she's open to learning about what I believe. So now she's kind of on the fence when it comes to what she's been taught as far as being a Christian. Now she's like, this doesn't make any sense to me, and, you know, this stuff doesn't really, it doesn't make sense. Like, I don't understand, but I don't quite believe what you believe because, you know, you're my mom, and I refuse to, you know, go along with anything you say. So she's just starting to discover her, you know, beliefs and, you know, spirituality. So that's kind of difficult too, because, you know, I'm trying to share, she's like, you know, pushes me away instinctively as a teenager. So, but that's, you know, it's been interesting to say the least. So, I mean, I'm open about what I do at home. There's not, you know, they know, you know, what I believe, what I practice, how I practice, you know, my daily rituals and things like that.
It's not secretive.
No, I mean, it's everywhere. You walk in my house and you'll know. It's everywhere. But at the same time, you know, they're a little put off by it. So, you know, but they, you know, they're supported in their own little way, and, you know, it's a work in progress. So anyways.
Okay. Erin?
Yeah. I think that my spirituality actually kicked up a huge notch after having my first child. I think that really, I don't know, it made me want to be more definite about, express more who I was, but I guess it just made it all a bit more important as well for me. And I think these days, now that my daughter is 4, my oldest daughter, I think that she inspires me in a way because children are such natural mystics. You know, everything is so mystical and magical, and you can't help but, like, I give that to her, but she gives it back to me in greater ways, I think. And also we live, you know, right in a rainforest, and that's, you know, as magical as it gets as well. So, yeah. I find that, yeah. I think, I don't know, we sort of practice, you know, our spirituality daily in so many ways. And again, with my daughter, the same for you guys, you know, she's always pulling cards. She's a great reader of cards, and she always pulls just the right one, and she always tells me just what I need to hear, and it's amazing. It really is. So yeah.
Avalon? Do you hear me?
Uh-oh.
Oh, got to unplug and plug it back in. Someone type it to her in the chat.
I did. Technical
Probably.
difficulties. What
I
can we
have a
do?
feeling she's gonna punch her computer.
I'm trying to help. Yeah, it's not working.
Can't be heard.
Sorry, guys. We're having technical difficulties. One moment.
Yeah, she'll get back, and she'll probably be much clearer too.
Oh, yeah.
And then it'll fade again. I feel so bad for her.
When you guys are talking about the tarot cards, I think that's cool because I don't do tarot, but I have a plethora of pendulums, which that's one thing my daughter is really into,
Nice.
and spirit boards and stuff. So I think that's really cool that you guys incorporate this. That's really cool.
Hi.
Yay!
We can hear you now.
Hello.
And your
I apologize. You couldn't hear a word I was saying. So what I was saying is I was listening to everyone talk, but I can't remember the actual question that was posed.
It was like a background of, you know, how you became to be pagan with your children and like how you decided to raise them and stuff like that, and you know,
Thank you.
like a
That's
general
right.
outline.
I know this history. I find it
Well,
interesting.
very, very briefly, because you know this could go on forever. But I'm a born and raised pagan. I'm a 9th generation practicing Yoruba cultured witch. So my children are a 10th generation eclectic mix of that tradition and whatever I practice now, which is much more eclectic than it is based on my family tradition. Although that is a deep grounding of its roots. Now, because I have somewhat of a framework to work with in raising children, being that I myself was raised, I have sisters who are practicing pagans who raise children themselves. I have a bit of a blueprint in which to work off. So I've got a cheater's map. And I have a general understanding as to when I will introduce certain aspects of the craft to my children. So I'm a pagan witch, so I live every day as a pagan witch. I have my shop / reading area / magic room in the crux of the house here. They are free to come and go as they please within my room, within reason. You know, they have to be supervised. My eldest daughter is 5, and when she turned 5, she asked me for an oracle deck, and I just thought to myself, she asked me to buy her an oracle deck, and I said, I'm not buying you one, I'm going to make you one. So I made her own 10-card oracle deck for her to use every day because she has a really strong interest in cards, and she also has a very strong interest in utilizing her mortar and pestle. So she has her own altar. She has an owl and a mermaid theme going on in her altar. And as she begins to ask for more things to be included, that's when I'm going to begin to provide them. So she is going to approach me, and I'm going to provide her with what she needs at that time. And so basically what happens in that approach is that, let's say my youngest daughter, Serenity, does not want to practice paganism. It will never be something that I force on her. She will have me as a model and her older sister who will be practicing pagans, and if she chooses not to go in that direction, then she simply won't ask, and therefore I simply won't provide. But if she asks, same with my son, if she asks, I'll provide. So basically they approach me when they are open enough. And children, like Erin said, they're incredibly magical, they're incredibly intuitive creatures, and therefore they know within themselves when they want to begin to acknowledge the divine in their lives. And when that's the case, then, you know, they're all open to it. I bring my children to every one of the Sabbaths. We celebrate the seasonal wheel. We practice acts of magic. I teach them the importance of not damaging nature, like pulling leaves and flowers off things senselessly, because the plant has a feeling. And I'm animistic in my practice, therefore I believe that there is a soul inherent in every natural thing in the world. And so I try to cultivate that same level of awareness and respect within them. I'm not an animal-oriented person, having said that, but I attempt to be for my children, and they're learning just by example. That's basically what happens.
Well,
Yeah.
And I know you can go on for a long time. I've heard some of your stories, and they're fascinating because that many generations, you don't hear about that much anymore.
Right.
Well, maybe not in popular culture. I don't think you hear about it in popular culture, but I can assure you where I come from, being a hereditary practitioner is like a dime a dozen. So
Right.
it's nothing fabulous. You know what I mean? It's not like, oh, look at me, I'm standing out here because I have this, lineage. No, there's lots and lots and lots of families in all parts of the world that celebrate a lineage of sorts. Australian Aboriginals are just like that. Yoruba culture, African, Chinese, Erin, Iban.
Yeah.
I can never pronounce it, but you'd find
Yeah.
hereditary practitioners in her culture like this is easy.
And the Native Americans here as well.
Exactly, like many of the sort of tribal cultures, they really do celebrate that and they keep that that belief intact. So yeah, there's lots and lots out there. It's just unfortunate that I'm Brazilian and I'm white.
Yep. Do
People
any of
don't
you guys?
expect it from me because I'm this color. When I tell them that I'm Brazilian, they don't believe me and they expect me to be chocolate brown. And if everything I was saying to you right now came from this beautiful chocolate brown Brazilian-looking woman, it would be much less of a shock than seeing this stark white.
Probably. And people don't realize, especially in South America, it's been so many different areas of the world have taken it over and taken it over again, and the ethnicity of people are very mishmatched. So
Exactly.
can't judge by the color of your skin at all. Do any of you guys have any questions for each other at all?
I'm not sure.
We could probably go round and round all day chatting about this stuff.
Yeah, we could.
Of course we could. I love listening to your kids.
I'll ask a question in general, okay?
Go
So
for it.
we've all touched on our parenting, we've all touched on our mothering style, our paganism, our grounding in paganism, and the background of our children, so to speak. So a lot of you, I don't think you might have mentioned this, Michelle, but Erin and Tara have said that, and myself have said that we use cards with our children, that we utilize cards with our children. Tarot, oracle, any form of divination, even cloud gazing. So I would just like to know, this is my question that I'm posing to you, what are your children's preferred method of divination? How do they interact with that seership, that divine, that magic?
Okay.
Are you
I know
asking
you're-
what the children do?
What is their preferred form of divination?
Okay, because I couldn't hear.
Yeah, you're cutting out a little bit, but I got it. For Adrian, like I said, it's been the cards. I really pretty much am almost strictly a card diviner. I mean, I have like a psychic board, I've got pendulums, I've got crystals, but the majority of my time is absolutely cards. I think most of you are aware of this. So anytime I get a new deck, I let him go through it, and he goes one card at a time, and he goes, nope, 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 and then he'll pick a card. That's kind of his way of doing it. And like I explained a little bit earlier, that like with the Osho Zen, he picked up the isolation card, which I understood the correlation there was quite real for him. And it's been the same with other decks he's gone through. But I would say probably if it had to be between tarot and oracle, it'd probably be more oracle. It's always interesting though for him just to go through, and it's always just one card he picks. Always.
That's really cool. That's really interesting.
He likes it.
My daughter
It's a
does.
nice natural approach.
Excuse me. While I'm not into tarot or oracle, they just never called to me. Like I've tried, and I'm like, I don't feel anything. There's no connection there. My preferred form of divination is using pendulums, spirit boards, things like that, and that's one thing my daughter really enjoys doing with me. And using crystals and things like that, she's really interested in that part of it. So we actually do a lot of pendulum work together, and teaching her, how to kind of intuitively pick up on things when it comes to using the pendulum and different ways to use one. There's, you know, tons of different ways. That's been the one thing that she's actually interested in when it comes to my practice. She could care less about all the other stuff I have around, but that's the one thing she's really, really into. And you know, I spend a lot of time with her, teaching her the proper way. You know, cleanse your space. You know, put up protection. Actually use the board right. Not just, it's not a game. It's not, to me, it's not something to play with. And so I, you know, teach her that, and that's been our little connection when it comes to my path, and you know, trying to teach her a little bit about it. And yeah, that's what we do.
That's really lovely. Yeah, that's really lovely, Michelle.
Erin?
Yeah, well, I guess Mia, she uses the cards because they're there. There's always a deck handy. But, you know, I think that really it's not so much the cards, it's the space where they are. There's always a deck sitting in the altar. And I think it's the altar that she really, really likes. And it's just that space. And it's candles and smoke and feathers and rocks. And being around that kind of stuff and touching it and moving it all around and singing to herself and talking to herself. And that's when things come to her. And that's when she comes to me in her special mystical voice and tells me things, important things. So, yeah, I think it's just this kind of sacred space. You know, that's what it is for her. That's what really calls her. Yeah.
That's it. That's beautiful. And I've been to Erin's sacred space, and I know her special little chair. That one. Very sparkly.
Very sparkly. Alright, your turn, Avalon.
Can you hear me first of all?
I'm wondering if you actually put in headphones, if that might help with the distortion a bit. I kind of have a feeling it might.
Yeah? I'll be back.
Okay.
Can you mute me? Can you mute me and all my sounds and that, please?
It's doing that chewing bread sound again.
It's like it's good at first, and then it turns weird.
Yeah, it like weakens it. So we'll just babble a little bit while she's doing that.
I'm checking them.
So I'm curious. Oh yeah, check the Q&A if there's anybody asking questions.
I'm trying to figure it out.
Erin, I'm curious. Does it seem like your daughter might have like an old soul to you? Do you think?
So I don't know. You know, I always. Oh, sorry, my baby's choking. Hang on.
Apparently.
I don't know. I don't know if it's an old soul. I mean, yes, I think she knows things. You know. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure we all just think our kids are just a bit special, really. But I feel that, yeah, well, I don't know, I guess I feel that she just does have a certain way about her, a certain sight, I think is the right word, and she really has a strong ability to articulate it, to say. I think that's, you know, she has a huge vocabulary for a 4-year-old. She's very, very well spoken. Most people will go, oh my God, I can't believe she's 4, you know?
Right.
The interesting thing about that is, because she's so well spoken, she can tell you very clearly how a 4-year-old thinks about things that normally a 4-year-old couldn't tell you.
Right.
So that's like a really interesting little window, you know? It's just an extra insight into the way things are for her, I guess. Which, you know, it would be the same for every 4-year-old. It's just that she can tell you clearly because she has the words to do it.
Yeah.
You know. So yeah, I was actually wanting to ask you guys if you felt that there was something more that you I guess spiritually, if you felt that it was a bit like that there was more you wanted to give, or there was like you felt there was more space for you to sort of nourish them spiritually, or if you're kind of happy with the way things are rolling on in your lives as a pagan parent.
Well, for me, I know there's a lot more I can do. It's just finding the correct way of doing it because of the challenges. Oh, babies everywhere. I know when he was born, I thought someone else was talking about her. I know when my parents were, they often called Adrian a Buddha baby because he was just so peaceful, so quiet when he was a little kid. And my dad would always be like, he's an old soul. I'm like, probably. I'm very nonchalant about a lot of this stuff. But I feel if I can get that to connect with him, kind of the understanding of what paganism is and kind of what to do with it, I think he would get it and run with it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, there's things like electronics. He gets it and he's off with it. And then he's very, very grounded. If you put him in a garden, he is in the dirt. He is doing stuff. He's going crazy with it. So I think it's there. It's just getting it out of him.
That's nice. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Much better.
Clear.
Is that a bit better?
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know why, but this is making me want to talk in that saucy voice. Hello.
It's very intimate sounding.
It's very ASMR.
Oh my god.
I'm sorry.
I don't know, but to address her question before, I've actually, up until about 6 months ago, I've never really felt a spiritual slump, so to speak, but I've kind of been in one, like a funk lately, and that I feel like I can't connect like I used to, or I'm just not feeling it like I used to, and it's really like kind of depressing me and bumming me out, and I'm like, well, what can I do to, get in touch with the divine in a different way, or in a better way, or what am I doing wrong? And I've been doing the same thing pretty much for the last few years, and I don't know, I've just been in a slump lately, so feeling that way, it's hard to try and reach out and teach my daughter, or try and reach out to her at all when it comes to spirituality. So I've been kind of a recluse lately when it comes to my spiritual connection. I've not. It used to be like, I mean, it still is a huge part of my life, but it's I don't know. It's gone on the decline a little bit. Like I'm just like, whatever, or I'm just not feeling it, or I'm just not. And it really sucks. And I used to hear people talking about that all the time, like, getting through a spiritual slump and coming back out the end, a better person. I'm like, yeah, that's never happened to me. And now that I'm actually feeling like that and going through it, I'm like, this really sucks. I don't know what to do. I ask for guidance. I'm not getting it.
Journal.
Pardon me?
Yeah. I said you journal. That's what you do.
I used to do that, and then I stopped doing it.
Well, apparently you need to get back into it.
I do a lot of meditation, and I used to get a lot of answers that way, and now it's like there's a wall up, or the microphone's muted. I can't hear anything. I'm like, what's going on? And I'm sure it shows outwardly on me, to my family, but I'm still working through it. I don't know what to do, so I'm just
maybe a change of environment.
Yeah.
I think so as well. I think whenever somebody experiences any form of spiritual slump, it's out of complacency and out of monotony as well, like the same old over and over again. And I think that is a byproduct of sometimes not interacting enough with other pagans, sometimes not activating yourself enough through literature or through, whatever your means are, naturally. I just think that it's a little bit of a monotonous thing. It's kind of like the Four of Cups. It's a bit of nostalgia. If you stay there too long, it can be stagnation, right? And I think the most important thing is to shift perspective, because obviously if you're going through this slump, what's worked for you before is no longer going to work for you now, and therefore you need to approach it from a different angle. And just be really gentle with yourself as well, because sometimes when you go through spiritual slumps, it's to put things in perspective. So a little bit of release and a little bit of just a break might do you the world of good and make you feel all charged up again. Likewise, might be like interacting in ritual. Now, ritual is one of the biggest ways that I personally feel really grounded and connected to the divine, and I have a very different perspective on ritual to a lot of people, because the way that I approach ritual is with simplicity. My style of ritual is very simple. I think the simpler the ritual, the better it is, because you don't want to have something convoluted, because that takes a lot of energy and a lot of time. And as mothers particularly, we don't have a lot of energy and a lot of time to ourselves.
No, we don't.
And so we need to set up parameters in which we can inject moments of divinity and ritual into our everyday lives. And sometimes you can do that in a really childlike way, and your very own children can sort of help you inject that sense of whimsy into your practice, and just get a bit silly with it, and just remember why it is that you do what you do, and why it is that you see wonder in the pagan tradition, in the pagan way. And yeah, I think just relax into it a little bit, and don't be so hard on yourself, especially if you are experiencing, like you said, a sense of disconnection and a bit depressed, and you're feeling a little bit in that serious sort of slump way. Then it might be time to just do a really, really big house cleanse as well, and just shift things around the house. I'm not talking about necessarily cleaning it, although cleaning it is a massive byproduct of cleansing, but just shifting furniture around a little bit and getting the energy to flow into your space and to the area that you dwell a little bit differently as well, so that things can start to feel fresh and new for you again, as opposed to this feeling of heaviness and almost obligation that sometimes comes with a spiritual slump.
Yeah.
That's just my 2 cents.
Because I keep trying to cleanse myself, but I think that's a good idea. Why do I not think of these things? But there is stagnant energy in my house, and I know it's there. I can feel it in certain places, and
It's like taking a bath in dirty water over and over again. You're not going to get clean now.
and I haven't done anything heavy duty in a while anyway. So it's not needed, but I guess I keep looking at it as a only me, so I keep trying to choose me instead of my space, which I guess doesn't make too much sense. But when you're disconnected and you're kind of like, yeah, whatever. You don't always think of the most practical things sometimes,
Yeah. But that's it. That's exactly right. That is exactly the crux of the situation. You don't think of things in a practical way because, you're in that position. It's nice to just be able to create some dialogue with somebody else and actually share it out, and then, and get those differing perspectives so that you can get a bit of a different take on it. I think that's really valuable.
Exactly.
Hi, Shiloh.
Now, what about that question you asked earlier to the rest of us? We all answered. Now, why don't you answer, Evelyn?
Oh, okay. The divination. My kids are manic diviners, absolute manic. I teach them to see patterns in leaves, rhythms in waves, sand, sky. So they do a little bit of occlumency. They love the cards because Mama loves the cards, and obviously I've made my daughter a tarot deck, and she likes to go around and read people with it. But she's quite happy to use some of my decks as well, so I don't mind her, with supervised. If she does it supervised, she can handle one of my better decks. But I think it's nice to be able to include them in it. But my daughter has a natural pull to crystals. So whether it be just a standard rock that she finds on the beach or in a driveway, for instance, or a crystal that she sees in a crystal shop, my daughter's altar is adorned with crystals that she has personally chosen for herself. And I've taught her how to intuitively choose a crystal and how to allow that crystal to intuitively choose her, because it goes both ways, doesn't it? And all of my children have this nice sense of wanting to be outdoors and really feel connected and get in the dirt and, you know, get dirty and play outdoors in nature all of the
Those
time.
children
So
love to get dirty.
yeah, it's a beautiful thing. But in terms of connecting with that sense of divinity, I think that they know themselves what they want to do. My daughter naturally gravitated towards crystals, and I understand why, because she's a girl and because they're sparkly and beautiful, or they're rounded and mysterious, or they're dark and captivating. You know, I understand why. And my son, he really likes the earth. He likes the dirt. He likes things to be, you know, he likes to be out there and interacting with, you know, earth in its generality. And that's going to be his magic, I think. He's an earth sign as well. He's a Taurus. So he likes to get outside in his knickers all day long.
That actually gives me a really good idea to ask a question. If you could assign an element to your child or children, what would it be? And it doesn't have to necessarily be their signs element, because sometimes that it does not correspond whatsoever. But since you already started doing that, Avalon, why don't you start off first?
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, I'm down with this because I'm all for the power element and the shadow element. So mine personally, my power element is air, my shadow is water. My children, I don't know their shadows just yet, but I think that my daughter, her power element is earth, as is my son's. My youngest daughter, her power element is water. Now, I'd say that with my eldest daughter, her shadow element would be fire, and with my son, his is definitely water. He has a tremendous fear around water, despite him being born under a Cancer moon and having been exposed to water even from a very, very young age. He just doesn't feel comfortable around it. So he, like myself, shadow water element. I'm not sure about Serenity's. I'd say that her shadow element is yet to come out. She's only 10 months old. So we will see with that one. But that's my deduction now.
That's awesome. Erin, go ahead.
My eldest daughter, her power element is definitely fire. She is a redhead, so it's kind of a cliche, but it's true. She is all fire.
Usually is.
And my youngest is I'm pretty sure her power element is water. But as for shadows, I don't know on both of them. I'm not sure. But yeah, oldest fire, smallest water. Pretty sure of that.
Michelle?
Oh, and mine is earth. I'm all earth.
I'd say your shadow one is fire. I see your power earth and shadow fire. Just call it. Just call it. What about you, Tara?
Oh, I was asking Michelle what was hers.
Oh, sorry, I didn't hear you.
Sorry, I didn't hear it.
That's okay.
I think my daughter definitely, her power element's definitely air, definitely, and it's hard for her to guess what I think her shadow element might be, because right now I'm thinking earth, but that might evolve as she gets older and, you know, time moves on, but right now that's what presents itself to me. Definitely air for her power element, definitely. And that's her, you know, actual sign element too, so, I mean, but she's definitely an air.
What about you?
Me?
Yes.
Oh.
You personally.
I don't know. Oh.
Let me put you on the spot a little bit more.
You know, people say that, you know, when they find out like what my sign is, they're like, you're not a water, but you know, that's the outer me is definitely not water, but the inner me is.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess my true self would be water, but I don't present that most often, if you know what I mean.
I think you do.
Some people are very shocked when they hear that. Really? Yeah, really.
I think you put off a nice water vibe. I'd say that. I believe it.
Yeah.
My shadow probably. Oh God. Earth. Probably like my daughter. We have the same general fears, and I'm not very. It's very. I have to focus and really make a concentrated effort to stay grounded. Like I have to constantly carry. Um, I constantly have smoky quartz on me, and I constantly have my snowflake obsidian because if not, I feel like I'm just all over the place, and I'm not a very grounded person. So I'd like to be, and I really want to be, but I'm not. So
For my kiddo, he was born in August, so I believe he's a Leo on the 8th. It's Leo. And I'm not really good with astrology at all, and I think that's a fire sign,
Yes.
but I don't think he is. Like him. We've always called him a water baby. He loves the water. He doesn't even know how to swim, and he just loves the water. He doesn't even care. Like, you could set him in the shower, and he'll sit in there till it gets cold, and he probably, when it gets way past it's being cold. I think it would be almost a combination of water and earth that it would be his, like, our elements. But I think water is his main one. But he is very grounded, too. I would actually say his birth element is probably the shadow one, honestly, or a combination of that and air. Again, it's hard when you can't communicate like an average person with someone to get how their sense of feeling is. It's very difficult to establish that. But and for myself, I'm a Gemini, so I'm air. I think that's pretty well represented. And I would be very similar to Michelle. I'm not all that grounded, so shadow would be Earth.
Fair enough. Yeah, fair enough. That's awesome.
Michelle, did we have any Q&A or Q's to the A's?
Let me check again. I didn't before. I think I was checking in the right place, I hope. Let's see. No questions yet.
All right. Do we have a time check?
In about 45 minutes.
What was it?
About 45 minutes.
That we've been talking?
Yeah.
All right.
Right.
So we got 15 more.
Maybe wait a minute. Yeah.
I have a little question to ask, if that's all right. I have another one, because I'm
Sure.
full of them, you know.
Mhm.
So,
Go for it.
for you guys that don't know, like, Erin is a person who journals, like, and I'm not talking about just the average, everyday journal person, right? She is a journaler extraordinaire. Hi, Shiloh.
Like, I need attention
She
right
is-
now.
She is a journaler extraordinaire, right? Now, Erin's magic spilt on over to me personally, right? So this concept of journaling was reignited. I used to journal when I was like in my early teens, you know, diary keeping and, you know, like memorabilia and that kind of thing. And what I have found that through journaling, it's ignited my sense of art, right? My desire for art. And it's enabled me to connect better with my children and also to make artistic sacred space for my children. So now I have a place for the children where they can just spread out their paints or their pencils or their toys or whatever and really like paint and draw and kind of record keep in a way that is totally childlike and totally whimsical. And so I just wanted to know if anyone else does journaling themselves personally for them, and if that kind of journaling has been passed down onto the children where, you know, it's developed into something beautifully unique as a result of their own personalities. That's my question.
I'll start. For me, I definitely journaled as a kid, as a teenager, and as I've gotten to be an adult, it kind of went away. There were other things that took priority. Like, I still have a diary, but I might write in it like once a year about life, if that. I do have like a tarot journal, a dream journal, a shadow journal, but again, those I haven't really touched for least over a year. But that is something on my to-do for this year, is to get started in at least like journal prompts at the very least, and maybe because I can't write very well because of being legally blind and being left-handed, and just you can't read anything I write. I'm thinking of actually just having like a document and just kind of like, day number 2, here's a journal prompt, and then just start writing. Starting off with that. And I used to do a lot of artwork too, but again, as I've gotten older, that's gone by the wayside, or I've had limited space and it's just not been viable. With Adrian, one of the things he loves art. He loves like things like Play-Doh or clay, and we'll just go ape over it. Like, he's very tangible. My sister actually gave him a birdhouse and paints to go with it. And without us being aware, he got into the paints and started painting the birdhouse. And then he started painting on his mirror. I'm like, okay, go for it. Yeah, it's a mirror. It's a cheap mirror. I didn't care. But I'm thinking that maybe I'll get him like a sketchbook or something, because he's a really, really good drawer. Even if on the computer, he can draw really well, and some people can't do that. And he's been able to do this since he's little. So I feel I need to make that type of a space for him. Now that we have our own house again, there is more space to be able to do that. So I feel I need to kind of make that more of a priority to have him allow him to do that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. How about you, Michelle?
I used to do a lot of journaling actually when I was younger, in my late teens, early 20s, but it kind of just dropped off. And for a while, that's pretty much what my BOS was my journal. I journaled magically, so to speak, but it really wasn't my journal, if you know what I mean. And I stopped doing it that way probably a few months ago, and I just, because I just haven't been connected to it doing that. And but I don't know if I even journal like most people do, because it would be like 2 sentences and I'm like, yeah, you know, that's it for my day. I never really got into it. I just did it to kind of watch my own evolution and kind of go back to see what I've done, to see if I've improved on this or improved on that, and kind of like, you know, personal improvement type of thing, which was my goal in journaling, you know, later on as an adult. But my daughter definitely is into, she's more into, she has a journal, but she does more poetry, and she writes a lot of poems when she's, you know, feeling down or you know, not feeling right, because she has some, you know, issues. She's had issues in the past with depression and anxiety, and what really helps her is writing poetry. She also paints and sketches. She's got a huge sketchbook full of just things that just pour out of her, and they're absolutely beautiful. And she's also a really good painter, and that's something that she's just, it's amazing. I can't believe it. I used to be really into art and stuff as a kid, and it just kind of like burnt out, and now I can't even draw a stick figure. So I'm really, really, really encouraging her and hoping that this will stay with her, because it's such a good outlet. She feels so much pride and so much better when she expresses herself, either in, you know, written word or in art. And it's sad that a lot of kids, you know, lose that, because I guess they don't get encouraged enough, or they're not supported enough. But because I certainly wasn't. My parents really, they're like, yeah, whatever, you know, we don't care. But it's such a good outlet, and if I was artistic, I would definitely be into that, but I'm not. And I mean, I need to find an outlet for my feelings, be it journaling or what have you. But I actually find it's actually easier to be, you know, have an electronic journal versus like handwriting, because I'm lazy, and because I get more. I'm lazy. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I sit in there writing. I'm like, really? Are you kidding me? No. But if I'm sitting there typing, I can just pour out. You know what I mean? And a lot of people like poo-poo that. They're like, oh, really? You know, oh, you don't actually handwrite? Oh, well. No, well, that's my thing. If you don't like it, oh well. But
If it
but
works for you, do it.
any way to get things out like that is so beneficial. And
Exactly.
when I'm in a rut with that, I can tell when I go back in time and look through, like, oh, I have nothing written here for like 6 months. Like, that's no good. But as far as the kids are concerned, like anything artistic or anything where they can just express themselves, like writing, art, it's such a beneficial thing for the kids. And if they can be encouraged and supported and keep that, spark alive through, teenage years and through adulthood, I think it's awesome. I think it's awesome.
I agree.
Yeah.
Now, Erin, the master of journals, talk to me about your journaling and how you inspire your children and you engage with your children in that, paper practice.
And how you stay motivated to do it.
Well, I was the same as you guys in that I used to do it a lot when I was young. And then as I sort of hit into my 20s, I just didn't have time. There wasn't time for it in my life. And I think I also thought that was kind of not a waste of time, but just
A juvenile thing.
a juvenile thing. Yes, thank you. That's what I kind of put it down to. And, it was time to get on with the other things in life. And, it really wasn't until I had my oldest daughter, and I knew I wanted to do a lot of art with her because for all the reasons that you guys have just mentioned, that, it's just really important. It's an extra language. It's another tool that they have, to express themselves. And I found that the more I did it with her, the more I was able to start. You know how, Michelle, sorry, I can't remember who was saying it, that you felt like you used to draw a lot, but now you can't even draw a stick figure?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I felt, like I used to draw all the time, and then from, a period of maybe even 7, 8 years, I couldn't draw anything at all, and it was just, and I actually found that really painful, and I couldn't really understand why, and, it was, it wasn't, it just didn't feel like I was expressing myself, fully, and after Mia was born, and I started to do a lot more art with her, I found that because I was putting paint to paper in a way that was without pressure, like she's not going to judge me, you know what I mean? So, like, I was just doing the act of painting or drawing or doodling or whatever it is, and that allowed me, a good couple of years of, I guess, just painting without pressure on myself, making things for her, doing things with her, and somehow that unlocked something that had been shut up really tight, and things started to pour open again. And then I I guess I kind of rediscovered journaling and using her paints, using Kitty's paints, using crayons, using textures and, Kitty's color pencils and stuff like that. Nothing serious, nothing expensive, nothing important, just what we had on the table there. And that started to change everything for me. And to the point where, like, I feel the most, I don't know, I guess the most creative that I've felt for years. And even though I was actually working in the creative industry, I was working in media, I still didn't feel like I was personally expressed. I feel more personally expressed now than I ever have, even though I'm just, journaling in books for myself. Although I do share it on my website and stuff, and on my channel. And in terms of sharing that with Mia, I mean, making a space for that in your day, it opens that up to her. She wants to be around. She wants to sit at the table with me. We do it together. It's the best part of the day. It's really like this place where you connect authentically, and she sings away and they tell you things. She tells me about stuff, and it's just genuinely the most wonderful time. And I know for her that like it's so nourishing. And we have like she always has her like just the cheap, $8, $10 big what do you call them? Like portfolio books, sketchbooks, the big sketchbooks. She always has one of those, and we've always, always kept one. So I've got like a few years worth of these giant sketchbooks, and you can really see the evolution of her drawing, and it's really lovely. I don't know.
Oh, go ahead.
What's that?
Oh, I was gonna say my mom kept a lot of my childhood artwork, like from 0 to graduation, and she kept a huge box of it, and you can see the progression of my own artwork, and I was like, oh, Mom, really?
I know, right? I'm like, what am I going to do with all this stuff? But, it's too precious to get rid of it now. And, I think she's an artist, and it doesn't matter to me whether that's, the path that she takes in life. It doesn't matter to me whether, she becomes an artist as a career, but it's forever a language that she has now. It's inside her, and we all need as many languages as we can, like to express different facets of ourselves that are locked away or needing expression. So, I'm so grateful for that.
Yeah,
and
that's nice.
yeah,
That is nice. The one thing.
Go ahead.
Sorry, Tara. The one thing that I found that by me journaling, right, and sitting down and making that space, that Savannah then comes and she journals, and Caspian as well, that's my two eldest, and they sit around the table, and what happens is by them actively arts and crafting at the same time as we are, we do get to open a dialogue. But one really interesting thing happens, and that is that I get to see whatever is important in their moment right at that exact moment of drawing. So it might be a cloud, it might be something else, it might be a clown, it might be a truck, whatever it is. But it gives me an insight into what interests them, enough for them to put that down on a piece of paper and document it, which in turn enables me to then open up a dialogue with them and try to engage more in their world, because that's what interests them, obviously, at that moment in time. And I think it's a multifaceted language when you get to sit down, and it is a language of wonder, and it does allow them to really magically, creatively express themselves. I also just really wanted to inject this, right? This is for you, Michelle. I was, you can ask Erin this. I was absolutely crap at art. Like, so crap that my daughters were better than I was. Like, I was so crap, right? I can't emphasize this enough. Look, I'm going to prove this because, this is a wildlight journal. Erin actually made this for me for my birthday last year. And so she gave me this book and she's like, fucking use it. That's what she said to me. And so I thought, I'm going to do that, and I'm going to show you something. Don't judge. I'm just proving a point here, okay? This is what I started off with, right? Right. Wait for it, because it gets so much better.
I have to get really close to the monitor to see it.
That's my tree face, right? That's the best I could draw a face, right?
That's way better than I could do.
it's pretty good.
Wait for it, because the next page, because I practiced, I managed to draw this face here, right?
Wow.
That's crazy.
And then I just went on, and I drew mandalas, all with my children present, and I drew like other little faces, and I used color, and I learned how to draw lips and all of that, and it was all because of this gorgeous woman introducing me to a gorgeous woman, and this book here. This is Beautiful Faces by Jane Davenport. So Michelle, if you are interested, this is a full rundown on how to draw beautiful, whimsical faces. And it's easy to follow, and it gets the creativity going, and it puts a little bit more flavor in your day. But most importantly, I get to sit down and do these little beautiful faces with my daughter, and that is called quality time. That is legitimate quality time there. And that's priceless. That's like worth $1 million to me. Like quality time where we can both be creative and both share. But I've got to say, Erin's journal, I'd never done anything like that. I've never had an art journal before in my life. I'd never even introduced this to my children because I didn't even think that that was a thing. But Erin gave me this last year in May for my birthday, and she was like, use it, and I didn't really know what to do with it. So I just started like doing some pictures in it, and it evolved naturally. And I've got heaps of them now, like heaps of pictures in there that I've practiced, and like it was so fun. And there's a lot of shadow there. If you have issues with art, then you've got a lot of shadow there. And I know that I had a lot of shadow.
I clearly remember you saying to me, I think it may even have been the first time we met, I remember you saying, I'm not an artist, I don't draw, I can't paint, I'm the only one in my family that can't, everybody else can. There was just this whole load of story there about how you don't do art.
I was the crappiest artist.
Yeah, it's so funny. It's really interesting. You were talking about what's important to your kids at the time of when they're drawing, regardless of truck or whatever.
That's it.
And that kind of made me have a little bit of an epiphany that I remember, because I used to draw a shit ton as a kid because I had a lot of issues because of being blind and being picked on, all blah 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 blah. But I remember drawing repeatedly the same house over and over again, I'm like, because that was my security, was home. So that I was like, oh wow, what an idea. And I mean, you find this when kids are in therapy, that the therapist will generally have them do some type of artwork, be it drawing, painting, messing with clay. Either they'll get answers by looking at their art, or the kid will get lost in what they're doing and speak freely because they're comfortable.
Yeah.
I mean, I was in advanced art classes in high school, and I was like one of the best ones in my class. And I mean, that's one thing I used to do, that I could just tune everybody out, space out, and do my artwork. And you know, as I got older and got into trouble and was doing a bunch of stupid stuff and started not caring about, you know, anything at all anymore. So I think, you know, along that path, I kind of lost my creativity. I just have to find it again. And even when my daughter was younger and would sit down and want to color and paint and stuff, because I think I was so young at the time when she was small, I just wasn't interested. It sounds bad. It sounds bad. Like it's not like I wasn't interested in her. I just wasn't interested in, you know, coloring and painting and stuff. You know, I was a young parent, and you know, that's not what I was thinking of at the time. I wish I could go back in time, like if I knew then what I know now, but you know, I mean.
You can't do that to yourself. Yeah,
right.
You can't do that to yourself.
But I mean,
it sounds like it doesn't matter anyway. Like that, she has that tool. You know, she's connected to her self-expression anyway. You know.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. Yeah. Look, another facet of like drawing, of creativity with your children, is the injection of color magic. You can teach your kids color magic while you're arts and crafting with them, whether you're using Play-Doh or paints or pencils or crayons. You know, you can teach them about the magic, the inherent magic of color. You can talk to them about why yellow is this and why red means that, and you can actually have that conversation with them. And it's a really, really easy, fun bit of knowledge to pass on to a child that's already in there, in that space, using that medium anyway. So it's really multitasking. It's multitasking pagan mothering.
I could forget about this. I must be having a brain fart today. One thing I do all the time, and I think it's artistic, is I make lots and lots of candles.
You do a shit ton.
Yeah. Every week I'm making them, different colors, different shapes, and you know.
Yes, that's artistic.
I mean, we do that together. You know. Yeah, I know. I just don't think of it that way. It's just something I like to do. You know. But I'm expressing myself that way. How do I not think of this? I don't even. Wow. I think maybe I'm
That's another thing about art too, though. That is another thing about art, is that and Erin will be my judge for this, is that when people say to me art, I actively think of painting and drawing.
Right.
But when really art is anything that you have a passionate outlet for, you know? So Michelle, your art is candle making. My art could be tarot reading. Erin's art is journaling. Tara's might be tarot reading as well. You know, there's a multiple way.
Stories.
That's it. Like there's, you know, art is very multifaceted, and it can mean various different things. I know people who are fantastic at making
gardening,
perfumes and gardening. My husband's an avid gardener. That's his art. You know, he loves the landscape. And it drives me crazy, but he does like to do it. But art is so much more than what I ever personally thought that it was. And I think that when you can open yourself up to the fact that what you're doing by making your candles or laying out your cards or gardening is actually art, then it's so much more satisfying to embrace it as a creative outlet and to really celebrate that creativity. So I think it's important to have a really strong creative streak and pass that on to the kids as well. Like that to me is incredibly valuable, and it teaches them to keep that their eyes open in a different way and not to look at everything so logically and so laterally as well, to be a bit more intuitive, to have that foot in that intuitive realm and to really be able to express themselves openly and honestly, whether or not with their voice or with their hands. So it's a very important thing personally.
Yeah, it's sort of anywhere where you're combining your physicality, your heart, your mind, and your spirit all at one point, in one go. And it kind of doesn't matter what it is. It's just like, it's not keeping it just in the head, but, you know, you using everything at once and sharing that.
That's exactly right. Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
I'm just putting my red lipstick on my daughter.
Adrian, can you say hi?
Hi. Hi, Adrian.
He's just like, I see people. That's right, you do see people. He finds it fascinating. And there's one thing he does, like he does a lot of these hand gestures that I have no idea what they mean. But they mean something to him. Like he'll do like stuff like that. And off he goes. It's some type of creative expression. Doesn't mean I have to understand it. But that's what he does. And he also is really big into music. Like he's got a beautiful voice. He sings and he dances. This boy is so damn skinny, though he eats more than I do. Because he moves like that as well. So much. It's like, do you have an off button, child?
Yeah.
But he definitely has his creative expression, and all of his teachers, even when he was like just starting school, were just like, wow, that's amazing how good he is. I'm like, I know. No, it's good that he has that expression.
It's a beautiful thing.
Oh, yeah.
It's a beautiful thing.
I feel like we're close, if not on point, to winding up.
We're just about over an hour, yeah, so.
All right, so I think time that we bid adieu. I think this was a really great hangout. And we finally got your technical issues. It looks like headphones are the thing for you, girl.
Yeah, maybe. Hey, until I get something else sorted out.
There hasn't been an issue since.
That's good.
And we don't have a date specific for the next one, but the idea is to have one of these hangouts once a month at the most likely end of the month. And if anybody is interested in joining the dialogue, this is not an exclusive group. It'll most likely be ever changing, as long as there's a new topic to discuss, which I'm sure as Pagan mothers there is always going to be something. So feel free to hit me up, or probably any one of us up. We'll be able to let you know. What's going on?
Nothing.
Oh, sorry, I just heard beeping. But yeah, you guys can most likely just hit me up on Facebook on Lippy Witch. You can find me on my page there. It's probably the easiest. Or make a comment down below letting us know if you're interested or if you guys have questions that you want answered. Whatever. We love feedback. And thank you, ladies, for all joining in this evening, afternoon, whatever time it is over there. It is evening time for us in the United
1
States.
p.m.
For sure.
But thank you for having me.
Thank you so much.
And I'm glad you brought Erin as well. It made it a lovely foursome here.
How could I not? Look at her. She's fabulous.
All right. So, any last words from you guys?
No, just thanks for watching, guys. And
Yeah,
talk
thank
to you
you.
in
I
the
really
future.
enjoyed it. I got a lot out of it, actually, and I was quite inspired by everybody. So thank you.
Yes, me too. Thanks, guys.
All right. Well, we will see you next month, everyone. Bye.
Mwah. Bye.